What's up, y'all? I'm Kyle. You're watching Driving and Vibing. Today we're doing something a little different. Rather than sharing the best of the best and all of our favorite boondocking sites, we're sharing the 5 worst boondocking sites we've ever camped at, so stay tuned. Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for joining me here today. And even though today's video is not supposed to be inspirational for you to get out there and go boondocking, we thought it would be fun to share the 5 worst boondocking sites we visited in our 5 years of RV life. It took us about a year to really learn how to find all the best boondocking sites. So within that first year of learning how to research and even learning our boondocking preferences, we definitely stumbled across some duds. We still stumble across duds to this day, but unlike back then, we have a plan B and a C, so we'll just pass it up for the next option. Before we get into the list though, I want to let you know that there is an article with all of these listed, some of the GPS spots on these, so just to make sure you can remember these bad sites and never visit them yourself. Without any further ado, let's hop into the list. All right, y'all, the first one is South Tourist Park, and this is located in Idaho Falls, Idaho. This was the first very bad boondocking site we visited. And it's so bad that it is no longer a boondocking site anymore. The town of Idaho Falls actually made it a $15 camping fee in 2007 to camp there to clean it up because it got in bad shape. The boondocking site is beautiful. It is right on the Snake River, green lush grass, waterfront views. The problem is whenever we arrived there, there were probably 10 to 15 permanent tent campers in the grass, which just made us feel a little uneasy. We parked in the main parking lot next to the grassy area where a few other RVs were parking, and there was traffic all night long. And this is not the type of traffic that makes you get a good night's sleep. It's not like camping at Walmart and people pulling in and out to go to the store. It is like people doing something that they're up to no good. But you can see here in these pictures that the site is beautiful, so we gotta give it that. And the other thing we gotta give it is that this was the first spot back in 2016 where we met the Mortons on the move, Tom and Kate. We just stumbled across them and a few other campers when we pulled up here. So it was awesome to be able to grow that friendship from such an awful boondocking spot. No boondocking there anymore, so don't even worry about going there. 15 bucks a night, and I'm sure they've cleaned it up since then, but it is no longer free. Next up on our list is East Allen Lake Public Access Area, and this is in Medicine Bow, Wyoming. Now, this boondocking site, to me, is the one that creates the worst horror nightmares of boondocking spots. First off, it is out in the middle of the boonies, which, you know, we're fine with something being out in the boonies, but this was out in the boonies in just the way that it makes it a little too creepy. You got to go down a pretty long dirt road to get to what is a waterfront, but no waterfront that looks attractive. But down that dirt road, you see these old oil drills still in action. And once you pull up to the waterfront area, there is a very small cul-de-sac, and in the middle of that cul-de-sac is the creepiest outhouse that I've ever seen. We've used the bathroom at many vault toilets, and we've seen many not so pretty bathrooms along the way, and we're fine with that. But this outhouse was just eerie in the construction of it, the design that went into it. It just made me think that I don't want to camp overnight here. There must be something better. So this spot was actually one of the sites that inspired us to always have a plan B and C. We got turned around in our 16-foot travel trailer. If you went down there in a big Class A or a big fifth wheel, I would be afraid that you would not be able to get turned around. So this is a boondocking site that still exists and you can still camp there. I would suggest only doing it if you are small and are in dire need of a camping spot. Next up on our list is SNYDER Hill, and this is in Tucson, Arizona. The thing that gets me about this spot is that in 2016, it made our top 10 free campsites video. We had an awesome experience there. It's probably located 10 miles from downtown Tucson. So easy to access everything, and it's a great community the first time whenever we camped there of RVers that were all camping together. So we got great vibes the first time we were at Snyder Hill. Now, since that time, we have gone multiple other times and it has gotten increasingly worse. It is overrun by people who don't observe the stay limits, and there's no ranger on site to enforce the stay limits. So it just becomes this kind of homeless community of permanent residents. I would rather find another boondocking spot than stay somewhere with a full-time permanent residence. It just doesn't make us get a good night's sleep sometimes. We woke up at 3 a.m. to a loud domestic disturbance fight. We smelled like burning rubber in the campfires around the area. Everything about it was unpleasant as we camped there multiple times in the future after that first time. So honestly, I would not recommend Snyder Hill. It is a great location in Tucson. If someone starts enforcing the stay limits, it could be a much better site. But as of now, it has made our top 5 worst boondocking lists. Next up on our list is SHERBURN WMA in Croats Springs, Louisiana. So this is another one we're torn about. We haven't had that many awful boondocking experiences, but this one was not good at all. Primarily because the weather was rainy for days on end, and this spot in particular was just flooded. There was nowhere we could have camped in the regular area and felt safe about it. We would have been sitting in water. So, I mean, that comes with the territory in Louisiana, and nothing against a little rain and a little flooding. We get that happens, but it made this spot completely uncampable. We had to camp down the road in a no camping area overnight just because we showed up so late. Again, this was before the time we had a plan B and plan C. But the other thing about this area, which could be a benefit or a disadvantage, is that there's a shooting range on site. So if you love shooting, it gives you a great area to do that. But you've got to be aware that there is going to be that noise from probably 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. So it can get loud there as well. That doesn't always mean it's a disadvantage. It could be an advantage to you. But for us, we like a quiet boondocking spot, preferably dry. So unfortunately, this site was a pretty bad experience for us. If you get a stretch of dry days though, it could be pretty good for you. And the number 5 worst boondocking site on our list is San Juan Municipal Park in San Juan, New Mexico. Now, perspective is the biggest thing with this site. It is a wonderful overnight camping spot. It's right off the interstate. It's next to a ball field. There's a gas station down the road, and there's even pavilions there that you can camp next to. But as for a boondocking location where you're gonna spend a few days, it's not that at all. I would not want to spend more than 12 to 16 hours on the site. And it can be misleading because it receives the Campendium Best Campsites of the Year award because so many people give it a high rating for its overnight camping, benefits. But don't be confused by that high rating and by that ribbon it receives year after year, because as far as a regular boondocking site, I wouldn't recommend it. I think overnight perfect, but an extended stay, just not my cup of tea with this site. So those are our 5 worst experiences. And I know it's not as extreme as some people have experienced. We've never had anything really stolen from us from a boondocking site. We've never had any extremely sketchy thing happen to us directly at a boondocking site. So we are very grateful about our experiences. We have always done research, and we always encourage boondockers to do research on the front end to save the trouble. But even with that research, there are times like the ones we just shared where the boondocking sites either had misleading research, we had misleading expectations, or we just didn't come prepared with a plan B or a plan C. Let us know your least favorite boondocking site that you've ever been to. And we hope it's not that bad. But we've heard of horror stories out there, and we're just fortunate that we're sharing these 5 with you rather than 5 even worse ones. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see y'all next time.